Well, good evening. I really want to thank everybody for being here tonight and for tuning in on TV. We want to welcome you to our 2012 City Commission debate. This is the debate for Seat 1. We really want to thank our sponsors. Kissimmee Utility Authority is our title sponsor, KUA. Thank you very, very much. And of course, our great friends at Walt Disney World. Thank you for being a corporate sponsor. And last, certainly not least, our friends at Access Osceola. Thank you for putting this on TV. And of course, you can watch it at the Chamber website at KissimmeeChamber.com. Well, we're going to jump right into the debate and let the candidates give an opening statement. They'll have 1 minute each. And we are going to begin with Mr. Alvarez. Mr. Alvarez, you have 1 minute.
Good afternoon, Mr. Horner. Thank you for having us here. My name is Jose Alvarez. I'm a candidate for the City Commission, Kissimmee Seat 1. My main goal, once I become a city commissioner, is to tackle the issues that we have in unemployment in our city. Also helping our businesses here locally in our city and trying to make sure that we find many ways to keep their doors open, and that will actually in return cure the issues that we have with unemployment. Want to work also with the biggest issue that we have here is a lot of homeless, especially a lot of our homeless out here in the city of Kissimmee are veterans. So we need to find solutions to get these people back to work, get them into housing, and hopefully we can move forward in a positive way.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alvarez. Next up, Deborah Rosado.
Good afternoon. Hi, my name's Deborah Rosado. I live here in Kissimmee, 17 years, single mother. I have an agency here called All Family Resource Center where we offer social services, mental health, legal aid. We help with immigration, and my goal is to help with resources that we need here. Focus on the people, focus on what they're wanting and the change they're seeking. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Robert Seacrest.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. 25 years ago, I entered first grade at Highlands Elementary School. Since that time, I've finished school in Kissimmee, attended Valencia College, and now I'm raising my family here in Kissimmee. I'm running for city commissioner because I believe the city of Kissimmee deserves a representative that knows what it's like to grow up in Kissimmee, knows the struggles that Kissimmee people face, and is willing to do what it takes to help them. There is a consensus among the people that I've talked to recently. Kissimmee needs a strong economic base, a safer community to raise their families, and a higher standard of living. We can all achieve these goals if the City Commission is willing to do the hard work that it will take to keep the businesses that are here satisfied, attract new businesses, and maintain a high standard of public safety. August 14th, vote for a better Kissimmee, vote for Robert Seacrest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seacrest. Next up, Dave Shear. Dave, you have a minute.
Thank you. My name is David Scherer. I'm running for the City Commission Seat 1. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today and seeing this debate between the different candidates. Thank you for your concern and your interest in the city of Kissimmee. As a city commissioner, we need to encourage local business development, keep people in their homes, and keep people working. And those are my prime goals for being a city commissioner. I've been a resident of Kissimmee for 33 years. I own a business downtown here called A+ Appraisals. I'm a commercial real estate appraiser. I understand what's going on in the city, and I want to do what I can to improve our standard of living, and I want to make sure people live, work, and play right here in Kissimmee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shear. And let's have a big round of applause for all of our candidates for being here today. Well, we're going to get right into the questions. We have an illustrious media panel here to help us ask our candidates probing questions. I want to introduce to you the editor of the Osceola News-Gazette, Brian McBride. Let's hear from Mr. McBride. Thank you. And with El Osceola Star, Jorge Perez. Mr. Perez, thank you very much. Mr. McBride, the first question will come from you.
Thank you. Hello, candidates. My first question is, what kind of experience do you have that makes you a qualified city commission candidate?
Ms. Rosado, we're going to begin with you.
Oh, of course. I went to school here at Valencia, and I have my associates. I have a bachelor's degree in legal studies, and I have a master's in criminal justice with a specialty in behavioral science. And through my agency, what I do is work with people on a daily basis with all the resources, the need, the homelessness, substance abuse, mental health, everything that is needed here And I hear it on a daily basis, everything that is needed locally, which we don't have. So I'm hearing it every day, and we're working at it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seacrest, your response.
A city commissioner, their main responsibility is to represent the city, represent the people who live in the city. I'm a former small business person. I'm also a painter. I do commercial work. I do basically labor work and work on commercial properties and residential properties. The city commissioner's goal should always be to do what's best for the city. We need to be able to be an ambassador for the city. We need to speak to businesses that are planning to come to the city, be able to represent what the city commission goals are and what the city commission has been working on, and do whatever is necessary to keep a stronger economy. So my experience would be as a small business person, as a working class person, and the ability to be able to talk to people.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scheer, your response.
The best qualifications for any position will be experience. The more experience you have, the better you can relate to other people. I've been a resident for 33 years here in Kissimmee. I own a small business. I understand the needs of small businesses. I've also been a volunteer fireman for 14 years, so I understand social needs, as well as being the executive director for Habitat for Humanity, which is a Christian ministry focused on housing. So I've seen homeless people. I understand their needs. I understand the needs of the business person. One of the other experience I have is being a property appraiser for Osceola County Property Appraiser's Office in Volusia County. I've dealt with multi-million-dollar budgets. I've dealt with taxation issues. I understand millage rates and how they impact people. That's why I feel I've got the best qualifications out of all the candidates.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alvarez, your response.
Jose Alvarez is a real estate broker. I'm also one of the past presidents from the Association of Realtors here in Osceola County. I have experience in government. I have served in many committees as chairman, vice chair, and regular membership. I have been involved with this community for many years. As a realtor, I have fought for homeownership right for the local and state association of realtors in Tallahassee with our representatives. I've also fought for homeownership right in Washington, D.C. for National Association of Realtors and also for the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. That's my side as a realtor. Prior to becoming a realtor, I worked for the Department of Transportation. What did I do for the Department of Transportation? Worked on fixed roads, and fixed bridges. I was involved with DOT for over 10 years. I started working as a laborer in DOT and climbed all the way up before I left Miami and left the Department of Transportation, working for the engineering department. I have the experience that is needed in the city. I know what the city and each of the departments.
Mr. Alvarez, thank you very much for your answer. We really appreciate that. And we're going to have a question now from Mr. Perez.
You were talking about increasing the economical base in Kissimmee. As you know, I consider, the Kissimmee airport could be a mine waiting to be exploited. Do you have any plan for increasing the use of the airport and increasing the revenue, having more air traffic in the airport here in Kissimmee?
Mr. Seacrest, you're first.
Thank you for the question. The Kissimmee Airport sorry. The Kissimmee Airport is a strong asset the city has, and there's some area around the Dyer Armstrong area that is vacant. There's been talks of the CRA on the 192 corridor, and that would be an effective way to help raise tax revenues and then get a base for infrastructure around the area. The Kissimmee Airport is doing very well with small planes, and there is some cargo plane availability. The only problem I see with the Kissimmee Airport is runway length, and a city commission should make it a goal to try any avenue they can to find any piece of land that could possibly extend some of the runways and bring in some larger planes, cargo, and that could help with any types of manufacturing companies or distribution around the area.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shear.
This week I met with the operations manager of the airport, Azhar Hussain. He let me know the plans that the airport has currently. In the works are the extension of the runway. They're also looking about adding extra taxiways, which will help open up some of the areas of the airport that can't be developed right now for commercial development. The development that's there now is doing a good job. There's three schools that teach people to be pilots and mechanics. There's actually other operations that are going on there as far as some commercial development. But with these new taxiways that open up and some of the new roads the Department of Transportation will be putting in, we'll be able to bring in a lot more commercial development and industrial development, which fits the needs of the airport and the surrounding area. And I feel that this is going to be a tremendous advantage to Kissimmee. We now have more local airport traffic than the Kissimmee Executive Airport.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alvarez.
I believe that the Kissimmee Airport is the gateway to Kissimmee. This is where Kissimmee is going to be able to create revenues to hopefully in one time, maybe some of the departments in the city of Kissimmee can be eliminated out of our budget and can be sustained by the airport. We not only need to work and make sure that this airport is completed and move pretty quick to get it done, but we also need to move around and finish the roads that are around that airport. We need to finish the project in Hoagland. We need to jump on the project of Martin Luther King. We need to tie in those roads together so we could get not only the airport being a positive role for the city of Kissimmee to create revenues, but also the businesses in the surrounding area that are going to bring even more revenues to the city. So yes, I believe very strongly about the Kissimmee Airport, and we should move forward with it.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rosado.
Well, with all said, I agree also. There's something also I do like about that we're not doing with the airport, and it's that there's a lot of Hispanics, especially from Puerto Rico here, living close to Kissimmee, and I would wish and would love to see that airport being used where they can come and directly from Puerto Rico here. So I think there's a lot we can do with the airport, and I think that would be great with revenues, yes.
Excellent. Mr. McBride, next question's from you.
As I'm sure you're aware of, the city budget deals in the hundreds of millions. What kind of budgeting experience do you have?
Mr. Shear.
Well, I have extensive budget experience with Osceola County when I worked for the Property Appraiser's Office. Not only did I oversee a portion of the budget for the Property Appraiser's Office, I had to look at the entire county budget. So when we developed the assessed values for the county properties, we knew what we were working with and how that was going to affect all the budget requests through the county. Now, the county has a very large budget, so that's a major impact on people's property taxes here. So it's important that we look at that, we study what's going on, what's happening with values, because that does impact the budget. This year, I do understand that values in the Osceola County property area are going down, so we're going to look at, again, another shortfall this year, which we will have to make up somewhere.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alvarez.
When I was the president of the Osceola County Association of Realtors, as the president, I was in charge of budgeting. I'm also very in charge of budgeting in my home, even though my wife will say it differently. And hopefully government will work on their budget the same way that each and one of us work on our budget at home. If we don't have the money, we just can't pay for something, and we need to move forward. So that's my experience in budgeting. In reference to property value, I don't agree that property value here in Kissimmee and in Osceola County is lowering. I think property value is climbing up. And as a real estate broker and as a realtor, I can assure you that what we're seeing out there is property value climbing, not going down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rosado.
My experience with budget would be my own experience with my agency. I started my agency with little funds, and it's been 5 years, so I think I've done a well budget there, and my personal budget. But my big interest is to roll up my sleeves and really work really hard once I'm commissioner and check and see what we have as a budget, where we can work with it, and work hard.
Thank you. Mr. Seacrest.
My experience with budgets, before I was a small business owner as a painter, I worked in the golf industry. I had aspirations of becoming a professional golfer. Obviously that didn't work out, but as a golf course management, it's just like anyone else that may own a small business in this room. You deal with absolutes, and you have to deal with the fact that if you don't have enough money to run an operation, or if you need to anticipate raising revenues, there's a lot of experience in that. And also running a business, if you run a business in this room, you know that it's very difficult to maintain that level. And if you, unlike a city or a government, if you run out of money, you're bankrupt. So the city, anyone on the city commission needs to have that awareness that everyone in the city struggles with money, and we need to do what it would take to make sure the budgets are always very, very strong and very clean, and there's no deficits.
Thank you very much. Mr. Perez, the next question is from you.
Okay, this question also about the economic. What would you propose for improving business conditions in Kissimmee, and particularly for attracting business for those empty property on Vine Street and OBT?
Mr. Alvarez.
I've been sitting with the city manager for quite a while, and I usually sit with him at least once or twice a month. And that has been one of my concerns, and the concerns that I brought to him from the business owners in Kissimmee as a business owner myself. We need to review what's affecting these businesses. I have proposed to the city manager that once I win this election, we need to go out there door to door, talk to the business owners, find out exactly what's affecting them. When we get down the list and see the majority that's being affected by one issue, let's work and get that out of the way. It could be something as simple as signage. This is going to be the future of creation of jobs in Kissimmee. How can we expect to bring new companies in if we're not taking care of the ones that we have here? So that is number one in my agenda, to start working the day after I get elected. Thank you.
Ms. Rosado.
I think that way back 17 years ago when I got here, 192 is beautiful. Hotels, lights, everything. Today, it looks like a ghost town. We need to work on that. We need to bring back tourism. Tourism is a big goal, and we need that back. Small businesses also. I have a small business. I'm hearing the complaints every day. Yes, Mr. Alvarez, signage. It's a big problem. We need to help also with incentives, grants, those small businesses, help them. Because if we help them, they're going to be successful. And if they're successful, they're going to bring employees. So it's like a dominoes effect. We need to help the small businesses. We need to help 192. We need to rephase it. Thank you.
Mr. Sechrist.
Thank you. The job of the city commissioners, like I said earlier, is to appeal to, we're the representative for the city. There has been $100 million worth of renovations at the Florida Hospital Kissimmee and Osceola Regional Medical Center. Now, some of the areas on Vine Street and North OBT that haven't been affected by our CRA, like I said before, a CRA would help with raising in tax revenue, keep it in an area, work on infrastructure, try to clean up the area, and then we can attract businesses, specifically medical. They could be supplier, they could be vendors for medical field. We could even attract office space business and those higher income jobs. Tourism is great, and we need to bring in as much tourism as we can to the city, but I would say that the city we need higher paying jobs, and some of those jobs would come from those fields that I talked about earlier.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scheer.
We know what's affecting businesses these days. It's the economy. It's not going to change until we make changes ourselves, both nationally and locally. Some of the problems I hear when I talk to small business owners are some of the regulations that they have to go through in order to develop their business or to expand their business. We need to look at, see what the city of Kissimmee is doing to encourage and also discourage local businesses from expanding, from growing, or from developing. In a lot of cases, there is people there that are ready to come into the area, but they're just not the right economic conditions at this time. We'll need to look at that. We need to offer incentives to have them come in at a sooner rate than they're ready. We need to let them know that Kissimmee is open, and we're willing to work with them to make this a better place.
Thank you very much for those answers. Mr. McBride, the next question is from you.
Red light running cameras have been somewhat controversial in the state of Florida. As you know, the city of Kissimmee is currently installing them. What is your opinion on them?
Ms. Rosado, red light cameras.
Oh, I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. As a matter of fact, today I had an experience where I was coming out of Office Max right there on 192, and there was a very ugly accident. The person didn't even go run to help the other person, and I had to stop and call 911, and he was having pain chest and everything. So I think that at that light, I think that they saw everything that happened. The other person didn't even care. So many times there's people that are not careful with their driving, so I think it's okay, I think.
Thank you very much.
Fine.
Mr. Sechrist, red light
Yeah,
cameras.
top priority for the city of Kissimmee, the commissioners, even the police force, is public safety. Red light cameras have become, they're almost national. Some states have not allowed them, but they've been around for a while. I had some experience with the Main Street red light camera. My wife blamed me for running the red light, but I think it was her. Anyway, the only problem I see with the red light cameras is if it caused a budgetary gap or if there was a negative cost effectiveness. If you go on the Kissimmee website, you can see that $75 of the, I think, around $160 fine goes to the vendor themselves. So only half of the fines are going to the vendor. The vendors cost a lot of money. Public safety is definitely a priority, but police officers, patrol, other things like that are definitely a priority. So if the red light cameras become negatively cost effective, and there is no drastic shift in rates of accidents, or if it's not a definite positive, then we should look into changing them.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shearer, red light cameras.
Personally, I am not a big fan of red light cameras. I understand the desire to make this a safer place for us. I'm not sure that a red light camera is going to stop somebody from causing an accident. We don't get a lot of revenue from the red light cameras here in the city of Kissimmee. A lot of it gets sent out to the owners of the cameras, the people who install it, the state. So the amount of money that we bring in is going to be small. And Orlando is now having a serious problem with people complaining about the red light cameras and going to court, taking them to court over the findings of the cameras. I don't want to see the city of Kissimmee get into a point where we're spending a lot of money defending a decision that was made in the name of safety, where there's no proven fact right now in the city of Kissimmee that they are a safety issue, or they are making things safer.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alvarez.
I'm in favor of red light camera. The law says the red light, you stop. And there's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, that don't believe that they need to stop. Unfortunately, we cannot put an officer in every corner. Yes, whoever's going to take the light is still going to take it, but it's going to think about it twice before they do that, once they know that that camera is there. In reference to the fees, yes, not too much fees come to the city. But who pays for those red light cameras? Who pays to maintain them, to install them, to continue working on them? That expense doesn't come to the city. That expense is what comes out of the fine that is given. So I am in complete support of red light cameras, and if we could put it in every corner, I'll be more than happy to approve that.
Thank you very much for those responses. Mr. Perez, the next question is from you.
Okay, this question is about taxes and fees. Are you in favor or opposed to increasing taxes without a citizen referendum?
Mr. Sechrist, taxes and fees.
So specifically, you were saying, would I be in favor of raising them? What was the specific question?
Are
Mr.
you
Perez, if you'd like
in
to-
favor to approve without a citizen referendum, or you are opposed to approve without a citizen
So,
referendum?
Mr. Sechrist, I'm going to clarify the question for everybody just so we're all on the same playing field. Mr. Perez, your question is, would you be in favor of ever raising any taxes or fees without a voter referendum? Is that your question?
Right.
That's the question, Mr. Sechrist. Your response.
Specifically, the voter referendums on the sales taxes and any fees, that I'm not in favor of raising taxes against the will of the citizens of the city. Absolutely not. The budgets and the revenues that the city bring in sometimes need to go up because if we face a deficit or if we're forecasting lower revenue. But just simply raising a tax base to make up for the shortfalls, I think is irresponsible, because unless you've reached every avenue of looking at any type of waste or any type of doubling up in services from different parts of the government, then just simply raising a tax rate without a referendum vote would be irresponsible, and I wouldn't do that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scheer.
The Osceola County property appraiser has already stated the values for 2012 are going down in Osceola County, which means the city of Kissimmee will have less money to work with. I am not in favor of raising fees or millage rates. In fact, the city of Kissimmee is already proposing a reduction in the fire assessment fee. I'm glad to see that. It just means we need to look at other places to reduce our expenditures in the city of Kissimmee so we don't have to raise property taxes or fees. Just like any other household, my household is structured so that when I don't bring in as much money, we don't spend as much money. Same thing is going to be true for the city of Kissimmee. As revenue goes down from taxation, so will expenditures. They'll have to go down. But I am definitely not in favor of any increase, whether it be by referendum or by the city itself.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarez.
I'm not in favor of raising any taxes. I think government is way too much big as it is. I've always said that we don't have a funding problem, we have a spending problem. What we need to do is we need to focus on different revenues that can be created to avoid having to charge those high amounts of taxes. We need to work on trying to get that budget items from different departments to be covered by private revenues that come in to the city. So no, I oppose any taxes to be increased without the citizens having their say-so over it.
Ms. Rosado.
No, I oppose also. Right now, with the economical hardship we're all going through, and here in Kissimmee, and salaries being so low and everything going on, no, I would not. I would not.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mr. McBride, the next question comes from you.
In creating new jobs here in the city, what kind of industry should the city be looking at luring in?
Mr. Scheer.
That's going to be a difficult area to discuss. It's got to be what new businesses are willing to come into the area based on what we have in the way of the workforce. Right now, the major expansions in the area are in the health industry. We've got Medical City to the north of us. We've also gotten some new industry into the area, such as small manufacturing. We need to bring in those type of jobs, manufacturing and health industry, that's going to create employment with a greater ability to pay their employers at a higher rate. Our economic base right now is based on a lot of families where there are two people working in the home just to make it by. Most of them work in the tourist or service industry, which is known not to pay at a high rate. So if we bring in some more technical or medical areas of employment, I think that's going to benefit our area quite a bit.
Mr. Alvarez.
Technical jobs are great. I believe in that. Medical, we have two of the best hospitals here, Osceola, and we have Florida Hospital. We're also working to try to see if we could create our own small medical city ourselves. But how can we look into first thinking of what jobs will come in if we don't take care of the ones that we have here? So I say let's concentrate to get the businesses that we have here ongoing to make sure that they're successful, they keep their doors open, and they start hiring new people. Thank you.
Ms. Rosado.
I go for the same. I'll stick still with my small businesses, the businesses we have. Also tourism. I think tourism working closely with Disney will help us a lot. We need to open that door once again. We have closed it on 192. I keep insisting tourism, small businesses, that's where it's at.
Mr. Sechrist.
Kissimmee is obviously a great place. We all live here, we love it, and there's so much to offer. The Gateway Airport we talked about earlier, the lakefront renovation that will be completed in a couple years. The city has looked into the Hansel Power Plant building, which is, if you know Kissimmee, it's the old KUA building, and it's basically abandoned, and it's going to be turned into multi-use office space. the way that families can maintain or acquire a higher standard of living is through higher income jobs. The medical city in Lake Nona is only 20 miles away. City of Kissimmee obviously has a lower rent area, so businesses like that would want to come here. Anytime we could improve 192 and North Kissimmee, that would attract new businesses to come here. Also, the businesses that are here, they need to maintain that high economic standard. So as far as incentives, or the city's already doing incentive programs, and they've shown the work in downtown areas. So if we can just incorporate the whole city, as far as specific industries, the medical industry, the middle incomes type of manufacturing jobs, and office space.
Thank you very much. The next question, Mr. Perez.
As you know, the city of Kissimmee is changing, year after year. We having new people come from other places, and in this way our population is becoming more diverse. Now we are talking about diverse management personnel in the city of Kissimmee. Do you think that the city of Kissimmee need to increase, diversity in management in order to have more, we can say, proper representation of all the group that we have in our city? Or do you think, that in the way that it is now is okay?
Everyone understand the question? Mr. Alvarez, you're first.
In my opinion, I think the city of Kissimmee is well structured and in diversity of different nationalities that are here representing us. Is there room for improvement? There's always room for improvement. But I'm very proud of the city of Kissimmee and the way that they keep their staff that is proportioned to what is needed to the diversity groups that are here.
Ms. Rosado.
I think that, yes, we need more. I work for the state attorney's office here in Osceola. I work for Help Now as a victim advocate. I worked also with Council on Aging. And this is where I decided to do my own agency, where we had a little bit more of bilingual education. I work closely with probation and with the courthouse, and many of the classes that we need to give to our clients, it needs to be in their language. If they don't understand what they're doing or they're learning, then it's a cycle. They'll just go back to what they were doing. So yes, I think that we need to reinforce that there is more services with bilingual and facilitators and teachers and anyone out there working. Yes, I do.
Mr. Seacrest.
The City of Kissimmee administration does a really good job. They hire people and they retain, when I was talking with the city manager, they retain people for a long time. They aren't hiring people on a basis of any type of background or color other than what they can do for the city and their skills. The way the city can improve a representation in city management and administration is by reaching out to the community more in education and training and things that everybody could do, they could learn. There's a UCF Business Incubator type of program that's with the city. The city could maybe do some more education programs in the other areas that are new to the city, specifically in Hispanic neighborhoods or low-income neighborhoods. Any type of education would be great. And that's mainly the problem with representation, is people that go for the higher paying jobs or administrative jobs, they're well educated, and a lot of people in low income and minority areas just aren't as well educated.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scheer.
Do I think Kissimmee can do a better job? Yes, I do. I do think they're doing the best job they can based on what they've been working with in the past. As our population changes, and it is changing drastically, we have some, I think, 30 different nationalities coming into the area. And what we need to do is we need to go out and hit all those different areas, those different nationalities, in different methods than we've been doing in the past. Quite often, the city would put in a news article or an ad in the paper to let people know jobs are available. Not everybody's reading the paper these days. A lot of people are online. A lot of people are looking at television, radio. There's so many different media areas that we can go and expand our diversity. that I think we need to work on that a little bit better than we have in the past.
Thank you very much for your responses. I'm going to let the media panel know this is going to be the last question from each of you. So bring your number one question, and we're going to end with Mr. McBride's final question.
Are there any city services that you see that can use improvement?
Ms. Rosado.
I'm sorry, was that?
City services that could use improvement. What are city services that could use improvement? Ms. Rosado, you are up first.
Oh, well, what I stand for is resources. There's a lot of resources within the Kissimmee that we don't have. I'm talking about community services. I'm talking about social services. A lot of the things that come in within the social services. We need. My dream is to have or to see someday that Kissimmee has one location where people that are in need for shelter, people that are in need because they're ill, they don't have insurance, they don't have certain things, can go to directly, where they know it's just local, it's walking distance, and that they're going to come out with an answer. They're going to come out with a resource, with a referral. That's my dream.
Mr. Sechrist.
The public service issue that I've been met with the most is mainly roads. For some reason, because of the budget shortfalls and the lack of funds, roads are very expensive, and nearly 40% of the budget goes to the police department. The police department does a great job. Fire department, EMT. I hear we have one of the best trash companies around, and they're doing a really good job, and I've actually gotten used to the recycling, so we're doing good on that end. But as far as the city government needs to make ways to raise revenues so that we can work on the infrastructure. That is one of the main parts of the city government that could use the most improvement is roads, infrastructure types.
Mr. Shearer, service that needs improvement.
Well, let me first start with the services that don't seem to need improvement. Let's start with that and look at the positive. There are three basic services the city should supply: police, fire protection, and garbage collection. Right now, we're doing a fine job in all three areas. I know my garbage gets picked up every day or every week. Police are around when I need them, and the firemen are there as well. So then let's look at some of the other areas that we're having problems. One of the main areas I would like to look into and investigate further would be how our government, whether it be the code enforcement, the building department, economic development, how they interact with our businesses. We need to increase economic development, and obviously some of these areas are areas that we might be able to look at where maybe we can do a better job. So that's where I'm going to look at it first, in those areas. Doesn't necessarily mean we need to cut those departments. It just means maybe we need to streamline them a little bit better and meet the needs of the public.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alvarez.
I think the city provides services well enough with what they have to work with. If we want to see more services come in and improve and add more assistance, where are we going to get the revenues from? We just talked about if we were in favor of raising taxes or not. So we have to work with what the city has right now in their budget, because if not, then we have to go to the citizens and ask them that we have to raise some kind of fee or taxes. The city has done a great job with what they have to work with. Is there room for improvement? Yes, there is, once we get more funds to be able to pay for that. So I believe very strongly that the city is doing very well with what they have right now.
And Mr. Perez, your final question of this debate.
Okay, my final question is this one. All you people are talking about attracting new business to our community. Now, are you in favor of giving cash incentive to new business, or do you have any other means for attracting, new business to the community?
Mr. Sechrist, you're first.
Thank you. We've talked about earlier that the city government has already in place some incentives to bring in new business. There are grants, specific grants that can go towards impact fees or signage or electrical grants, things like that. The cash incentives, obviously we know that the budget is very tight, revenues are down. If we could extend, maybe there is a 5-year payoff for impact fees, there's programs like that. if there is a spot in the budget that is available that's already allocated, we should really choose to use those funds in the best way. So any cash incentives that are in the budget currently, we need to use those specifically and target really good businesses. And in the future, when we look at the budget, if we are running too low on any types of extra funds, then we'd have to look at other ways to attract in those businesses.
Mr. Scheer.
Whether it be for a new business or an existing business, we should do the same for each one. I don't think the city of Kissimmee has the money to give out cash incentives, but there are other ways of incentivizing businesses to expand or to develop, such as deferred payments for different impact fees. Also, the collection of taxes can be deferred in a matter. We need to look at that and see what area we're going to get the most bang for our buck. I don't believe that we need to go out and just give it to everybody. You have to show a need. You have to show an area where you're going to improve the city of Kissimmee, its residents, and the area in whole.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alvarez.
Yeah, the city already has incentives in places to attract all these companies that we want to bring here. But I'll go back to one of the answers I gave. How can you attract new businesses when you're not taking care of the businesses that you're here? Companies, before they move into a new area, they do a study on that area. And one of the study in that area is how is the local government treating those businesses that are already there? And if they're seeing that we're bringing them here, but then we abandon them, how are they going to come here? So I say first, let's concentrate and let's help the ones that we have here, and the other ones will come all by themselves. But there is already incentives in place for them for when they come here.
Ms. Rosado.
Yes, I believe so too. But I do believe that, yes, we can help the businesses that are wanting to relocate maybe here, but I do believe that we do need, or we would expect for them to give us a proposal where we can kind of see if it's really a good business, something that's going to help Kissimmee, something that's going to attract to Kissimmee. And I'll repeat again, as tourism. So if that's something that's going to help us and it's going to bring or help us, Kissimmee, economically, then I think, yes, we should. We should help them. We should give them at least 5 years maybe and give them the incentives. And there's a lot of businesses today that have it and are doing really well downtown Kissimmee. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. That's going to conclude the question portion of our debate. And I really want to thank our panelists from the Osceola News-Gazette and Osceola Star. And we are going to move into closing remarks. And each candidate will have 30 seconds to make closing remarks. And we're going to begin with Mr. Scheer.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today to see us in this debate, to hear what we have to say, and make your wise decision on August 14th for the best candidate for City Commission. I've got a lot of experience here, and experience is what matters in this race. For the city of St. Cloud, I give a course called Local Government 101. It's a 6-week course that teaches people, anybody who's interested, how government operates and why they make the decisions they make. To me, this is tremendous insight is what a candidate needs to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scheer. Mr. Alvarez.
My name is Jose Alvarez, and I'm sitting in front of you applying for a job. I'm applying for a job in front of you and every voter here in the city of Kissimmee. On August 14, I want you to hire me. I want you to hire me on the merit of my background, of what I've done. And all that information is in my website, and you can see it. I have been very involved with the city for a very long time, and I assure you that I can do the job. And if I don't do the job, then I don't get reelected. But I am here applying for a job. So on August 14, please vote for me, Jose Alvarez, for City of Kissimmee Commission Seat 1. Thank you for being here.
Ms. Rosado.
Thank you for being here. Right now, I am running for City Commission Seat 1. I want to make a difference. I think I can make the difference with all the experience I have, not only in education, but on a personal basis. I think it's time that we start listening to the people that vote for us, that put us up there. And I do want you to know that if I am the next commissioner, I want you behind me, because we can't do it by ourselves. We need to work together. And I think that unity is very important in Kissimmee. All together, we can make a difference. And I don't want to make a difference. I want to be the difference. Deborah Rosado.
Mr. Sechrist.
I'd like to thank everybody for laboring through this very intense debate. It's very exciting, I know, but we all know the issues that we face in this city. We all have really good ideas up here, and basically the main focus it should be is on August 14th, everyone needs to get out and vote and make a decision on who they think is going to be the right person to make sure the city of Kissimmee moves on, makes the right decisions, and I'm the person that knows how everyone has struggled, and I have good ideas to make us a better city in the future.
Thank you very much, and that's going to conclude our debate today. I want to once again thank our sponsors, our friends at KUA, Kissimmee Utility Authority, and our friends at Walt Disney World. We really appreciate their support to make this possible. And I really want to thank the candidates for participating in a civil, thoughtful, very interesting debate. You all did a great job, and it takes a lot of courage to throw your hat into the ring and run for office. Let's give all of our candidates a big round of applause. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and please vote on August 14th. Good evening. Well, good evening. Welcome to the 2012 Kissimmee City Commission debate. This is for seat 3. We want to welcome you and thank you so much for being here or tuning in on your TV. We want to start off by thanking our sponsors, our title sponsor, KUA, Kissimmee Utility Authority. Thank you very much for your sponsorship. And we really want to thank our friends from Walt Disney World for sponsoring this event. It's these good corporate sponsors that make this event possible. And we really want to thank our friends from Access Osceola for filming this and putting it on the Government Access Channel. Well, let's jump right into it. We're going to have a 1-minute opening statement from each of our candidates, and we're going to begin with Mr. DeLong.
I'd like to also start with thank yous. Thank you to the Chamber for the invitation. Thank you to the citizens that are here, that are desiring to be educated voters, for those that are going to be listening to the broadcast on Access Osceola. My name is Mike DeLong. I've lived in Kissimmee since 1994. I'm a graduate of Florida Christian College. I live in the downtown historic district with my 4 kids and my beautiful wife, Kat. Since the time I've been in Kissimmee, I've worked in the faith community arena. I work for the Vine Church. I'm a local senior pastor. And so I'm hoping to bring some of the same characteristics, same values that I've learned in that role into the role as a city commissioner. I'm looking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Garcia.
Good evening, and like Mr. DeLong said, I would like to thank all the people who made this possible and the citizens for being here to listen to what we have to say for this race to City Commission. My name is Carmelo Garcia. I moved to Kissimmee in November of 2006. I've been here ever since, adopted it as my home. I am a minister. I have a nonprofit organization that works with the community, and I've been working with the community since I got here in 2007. And I am basically just looking to bring the knowledge of leadership and basically just help the community grow and expand in a more positive way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next candidate is Jaime Matos.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here and for this opportunity. I have been a resident of the city of Kissimmee for 22 years, and for so many years I've been involved in the community. Some of my involvement is with the city of Kissimmee, being a member of the Kissimmee Historic Preservation Board. I'm actually also sitting in the Kissimmee Police Pension Plan Board and also with the Osceola County Parks and Recreation Board. If elected commissioner, some of my goals are to ensure the city will continue in the right path of growth and economic development, and in the same light, to promote some overhaul or some review of some city ordinances in order to be more competitive with other municipalities in the neighborhood. Besides that, just to maintain an open door policy to everybody in the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next candidate is Hector Rodriguez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hector Rodriguez. I'm a retired New York City correction officer. I moved to Kissimmee in 2004, and I started to do volunteer work in the city of Kissimmee, and that's how I became so involved with the city. A year ago, I decided to run for commissioner, and I decided to start working right away a year ago. I would like to know the strength and the weakness of a city, and that have taken me to every corner of our city. I have visited and I have spoken to many residents here in Kissimmee, and they share the concern and issues. If I'm elected, I will be a commissioner that will finish the work that is in progress right now in the city and make sure that our city it continues to grow to the 21st century. Thank you very much.
Our next candidate is Sarah Shaw.
Hello, I'm Sarah Shaw. I moved to Kissimmee at the age of 8 months old, and I've been here ever since. I have a lot of time and interest invested with this city. I also have a debt of gratitude to pay back to this city. I've always played in the parks here. I've skated my skateboard down the streets of downtown, I have a lot of personal issues with the city of Kissimmee, and not really issues, but a lot of concern when it comes to Kissimmee. If I'm elected, I'm going to do the best that I can to listen to everyone in the city that I have the pleasure of meeting and addressing your concerns as citizens for Kissimmee. I've been involved with a lot of volunteer work in the city already, and I plan on doing that no matter what happens in the future. I do care about this city a lot.
And our next candidate is Dravonda Woods.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Dravonda Woods, and I am a native Kissimmean. I was born here, educated, went to the public schools here, raised my kids here, had a business here, and I have been involved in this city for over 30 years. I'm in favor of our young people learning what it means to be civically minded, to have community service at heart. I support our business community here, and I will work to ensure that once we develop new businesses, we go after them because they can sustain jobs in the city. We know what the jobless rate is, and so we want to be sure that we bring in cities, communities, and businesses that will have jobs at stake. I'm not a career politician, but I am a career public servant. And so I have you, the citizens of Kissimmee, at heart. I've always worked to make sure that this is the best city it can be. Thank you.
Let's have a big round of applause for all of our candidates for being here today. Well, we are very fortunate to have an outstanding panel to ask questions today. We have with us the editor of the Osceola News-Gazette, Brian McBride. Let's hear it from Mr. McBride. And with El Osceola Star, Jorge Perez. Mr. Perez, thank you for being here. Mr. McBride, the first question will come from you.
Thank you. Hello, candidates. As you're aware, the city budget deals with the hundreds of millions. What kind of experience with budgeting do you have?
Mr. Garcia.
With budgeting, as working with an actual budget, I don't have any experience, but I have a degree in business administration, and I've worked with budgeting and different types of scenarios that deal with budgeting. I have a nonprofit organization that I do maintain a budget. It's not a large budget of hundreds of millions, but the budget that I do have, I maintain it very well. I disperse the money where it needs to be put and work with what I have in order to make the goals of what I need to do and the money that I have last and go exactly where it needs to go. So if I were to deal with the budget of Kissimmee, I would do exactly what I do with my nonprofit. Make sure the money goes where it needs to be and do what it needs to do for the city of Kissimmee.
Mr. Matos.
Yes, coming from 16 or 17 years with a municipality in Orange County and having to deal with so many large projects actually in the administration and design and administration, I do have some hands-on experience in dealing with budget. $126 million of the city budget, it is a lot of money for many people, but really, in my opinion, to run a whole city, we are still not really a large community. Also sitting with the police pension plan, we have to deal every time at every single meeting with the budget of the pension plan, how we're going to allocate funds in the different markets. So we have a very portfolio that, to cover all the needs for the pension plan.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Currently, I sit on the pension board for the fire department. I am responsible for administering millions of dollars for the fire department pension fund. So I have an understanding of how to manage this type of funds that I am being tasked to. Other than that, it's pretty much you have your staff that will give you guidance, and they will tell you, and you see what the expenditures are and if it's affordable. And that's the only experience that I have.
Excellent. And the question is budget experience. Ms. Shaw, you're next.
I have owned a small construction company for 13 years through the recession, so that's given me a lot of experience with personal budgeting. And I've learned a lot about budgeting in the last year being on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. We've done a lot of budgeting when it comes to the parks, and we have a lot of construction going on right now, which has brought me a little bit up to date, especially with the city and the budgets of the city.
Excellent. Ms. Woods.
Yes, I have experience in my household with budgeting my finances. If I don't have enough, I can't spend. I have owned a business, and I know what it's like to have revenues and expenditures. I am sitting on the board of my church. As a board of director, we look at a budget each year, so I know what it means to put things in place for the budget and then work toward generating the revenue for it. I also know that this city is a zero-based budget, has a zero-based budget, and that if we don't, have enough revenues coming in, then we can't make the expenditures, and cuts have to be made. So I do know a little bit about budgeting, and I will bring in my experience to the city. And of course, we have wonderful staff here in the city who will guide and lead me in the direction I need to go to make good decisions.
Mr. DeLong.
I do have experience in budgeting the last 10 years. Anytime you have a corporation, whether it be profit or nonprofit, you are budgeting. And so the last 10 years I've been doing, overseeing budgets for the Vine Church, and that's my experience.
Mr. Perez, the next question comes from you.
I am going to ask the same question that I asked to the other group of candidates. I am sure that you are aware that we need to increase the economical base for Kissimmee. Now we have a wonderful airport over here in the city. Now my question is, do you have any plan for increasing the use of the airport and increasing the revenue, having more air traffic?
The question is plans for the airport. You have plans for Kissimmee Airport, and Mr. Matos, you're first.
Yes, I do support actually plan going on with the city of Kissimmee to expand the functions of a municipal airport. Also, the plans in place already or in ideas with the Office of Economic Development of the city. I do believe the municipal airport is a potential mine that we have, and it is my purpose to actually try to take the best out of it. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, I believe the Kissimmee Airport, municipal airport, has a great potential. I recently met with the director of the airport, Mr. Loy, and I had an hour conversation with him. I believe that our airport has a good potential to have flights coming in, charter flight from South America, Latin America, and they could use this airport as a hub instead of Orlando Airport. Of course, that we need to work on all the details to bring that plan into action. But I do believe that our airport has right now over yearly, they have over 150 operations, and they accommodate over 350,000 corporate jets per year. That's a lot of flights, folks. And they work 24 hours a day, 7 days, 365 days a year. So as you can see, we have a great potential to make this airport a destination stop here in Kissimmee.
Excellent. Ms. Shaw.
When we built this airport, when actually the Army built this airport, they built it in such a way that we can actually accommodate jets that are up to a 737. We have a 5,000 and a 6,000 square foot or linear foot runways. We've got ILS excellent instrument landing systems, and we've got 3 FBOs, which are fixed base operators. Our airport right now is state-of-the-art for what it is, and I would love to see it expand, if that's possible in the future, to maybe accommodate things from overseas. But after we're done with the Martin Luther King Jr. Park Boulevard and Hoagland, after Hoagland's done, that's going to open up a world of opportunity for our airport and accessibility to getting to the airport from Disney and from Orlando and all, that whole area is going to open up a lot, which is going to bring a lot of opportunity for the airport.
Ms. Woods.
Yes, I recently spoke with our city manager, and he was telling me that there is a charter flight company that wants to come in to this airport to bring in, the charter planes are about 60 passenger, to bring in passengers that do not want to come into the busy Orlando airport, and Kissimmee is centrally located. As Ms. Shaw said, with the construction going on Hoagland, it's going to divert a lot of traffic into that area, and so we have a major opportunity for expansion there. Industrially, we're looking at the property, the Lancaster property, and with that, developing the industrial area out there is going to be a perfect fit for the airport and the use of the airport to bring in charter flights and more opportunity for jobs in this area.
Mr. DeLong.
I think we have to also commend the current city commission. They've done a great job of already tracking a trail for us on this. They've laid out a number of objectives that I think are going to expand the airport. They've already increased runway 24. They've already looked at securing a new tower. They've already began the process of acquiring property around the airport. They've already gotten a $2 million grant process in place. So they've done a number of things that have already begun to lay the groundwork for expanding the airport. I think the one piece that possibly could be missing is that you have these roads that are coming in. You've got Hoagland, you've got MLK, but you've also got to deal with that 192 corridor out there. You're never going to be a destination for great corporate events, great corporate travel if you don't deal with that 192 corridor. So,
Mr. Garcia.
I believe that Kissimmee is a great city, and with a municipal airport being larger than what it is now, I think that it would actually be great to come to Kissimmee. People come here all the time. The 192 corridor, as I was saying, if you look at it now, many businesses are going out of business, and they're putting up, there's a lot of vacant areas. With a municipal airport as big as the plan that the current commissioners have put in place, would be great for the city. And I am for that plan 100% if everything is done accordingly to how it's supposed to be done, and make everything affordable for the residents, and make sure that the businesses are going to benefit from that traffic that's going to be coming in and out of the municipal airport. I don't have anything against that airport, and I am actually for it 100%. Thank you.
Our next question will be from Mr. McBride.
Currently, the city is installing red light running cameras in the city. What is your opinion on them?
The question is, what is your opinion on red light cameras? And Mr. Rodriguez, you're first.
I think that is a deterrent for folks to run red light. If you know that you want to run a red light, you want to get a ticket. Simple as that. I think I'm in favor that will cut down on fatality, accident on the street. I think that this camera is also a tracking device for the law enforcement, and I think that's a good idea.
Ms. Shaw.
I was actually here when the commission voted for this to come into place, and I couldn't have been more thrilled. I mean, one life saved is worth every little bit. It's actually, not going to make a whole bunch of money or anything like that, but I think it's an excellent idea. And, like I said, if we can just save one life with the red light cameras being installed, then that is awesome. It is a great deterrent. We've got the signs there that remind you, oh, there's a camera here. So, if you run this red light, we're going to get you.
Ms. Woods.
Laws keep us in force, don't they? They keep us in check. And so I think the camera is a good idea because we need to be mindful of the laws, and we need to follow and obey the laws of the land. I just wish that we could make more money off of the red lights. I have a little statistic here. It says that the tickets are $158, but out of that, $70 goes to the state, $10 goes to the trauma center, $3 goes to a spinal organization, and $42 goes to the vendor. So it doesn't leave us with much money coming into the city. So when you see your tickets, if you're fortunate enough to get one, just keep in mind that the city does not make a lot of money.
Mr. DeLong.
I agree. I'm interested to see how the money gets spent in connection with how the vendor gets paid. And I agree that the lights are good and the cameras are good, but I'm also interested in seeing, and I know this is above my pay grade, but I'm also interested in these studies that are coming out recently that are telling us that if they just increase that yellow light by 1.5 seconds, it'd reduce these accidents. So I'd like to see that also looked at.
Mr. Garcia.
I'm a driver, and I like to look both ways, but these lights are very necessary, and I am for it 100%. Not only do they save lives, but it keeps also the accidents from happening and drivers from piling into each other. I don't know how these people like to run red lights, not knowing that there's a child passing by, crossing the street, riding a bike, a pedestrian coming through, and they just want to run through that yellow light just so that they can make it at the last moment. And these red camera lights, they need to be installed in all major sections. And when I get elected, I would actually go for putting these lights in every possible area that can keep saving lives.
Mr. Mates.
Well, I agree that it's a deterrent and may save lives and all that. It's a good thing. However, I would like to see that when the city makes a deal with some developers and any company trying to bring money, business to the city, that we get a better cut out of the deal. I would rather wait to see what happened and see when the contract is due for review. So maybe my proposal will be that we get a better deal out of that, or we will increase the yellow light for 1.5 seconds.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And our next question will come from Mr. Perez.
Okay, this question is about taxes. Are you in favor or opposed that any tax or fees be approved first by citizen referendum?
The question is, do you favor or oppose before any tax or fee is raised, you get a referendum from the voters? That's the question, and Ms. Shaw, you're up first.
That is a good question. I, of course, would love to hear what the voters have to say about everything when it comes to the city and spending the city's money and collecting the money from the citizens of the city. I think there are some things that definitely need to be addressed when it comes to spending. I would like to know, yes, what the citizens would like to say, whether or not, whatever form that's in. I think that if more citizens were to come out to the meetings and address the concerns that they have, here before the dais, then, we would know exactly how they feel. And that, I think, would be the best way to do that.
Ms. Woods?
Well, it's a twofold issue for me. The referendum is good because we always want to know what the citizens are thinking and how they feel about issues. However, it does take money in order to put issues on the ballot. So my concern would be, first of all, let's let staff do their jobs. Let's let them work it out, bring the solutions to us, and then we, as a body of policymakers and directors, we would direct them on the next step to make. At that point, if we have citizens' input and that we still feel that the citizens are not in agreement with what we've come up with, then, of course, we would put it on the ballot. That's my opinion.
Mr. DeLong.
I agree with Devonda. You're electing commissioners to make these type of decisions. They make these type of decisions now. I don't think that every tax increase has to go to a referendum, but I'm against raising the taxes. In comparison to the surrounding cities, we're doing a great job. And the City Commission's done a great job. And our taxes are where they should be. And so I'm not in favor of raising those taxes, but when it comes time to deal with taxing, that's why you're electing city commissioners.
Mr. Garcia.
When it comes to taxes, I also agree with Mr. DeLong and Ms. Joanda Woods when she says that not everything should go to the citizens. I mean, you are electing, you have a day on August 14th to go and put a vote, and you're voting for us to get elected to come and lead this city into the right direction. So according to whatever judgment we have that we should do to make the city better, it should be left up to us. Of course, it is important what you say now and always, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't get elected. But I think that it should be at the commissioner's discretion whether to raise taxes or not. I don't like to raise taxes either, but when it comes to putting it on a referendum, I believe that it should be at the discretion of the city commissioner, because the citizens elected that commissioner to do the job that they were elected for.
Mr. Matos.
Thank you. Well, flat out, I would oppose any new tax, right? I don't think we need to charge more the already ill pocket of so many citizens. It costs a lot of money to put something in the ballot for the citizens to vote on. And so far, at this moment, I think the city is doing really good, and the city manager is handling the city in a good way. We are in good shape right now, and I think we can work with what we have right now. I don't see in the future any need to increase any tax.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, if I got elected as your next commissioner, I will make sure that you are informed of any proposal to have a tax increase. I'm opposed to increase any taxes. We have to fiscally tighten our belt in our household, and the city should do the same. Before they pass that bill to you, I want to make sure that we have exhaust every avenue before we reach that decision. Thank you.
Excellent. Before we move on to our next question, I just want to remind all the candidates two things. One, if you have to cough or something, please turn your head from the microphone. And remember, you do not have to get closer than 6 inches to the microphone. Next up, Mr. McBride, questions from you.
For the residents who are going to vote in August, why should they choose you over your opponents?
Why should you be chosen over your opponents is the question. Ms. Woods, you're up first.
I should be chosen as your next Kissimmee City Commissioner because I have been involved in this city for most of my life, for over 30 years. I'm in favor of supporting the police department and developing relationships with citizens in their neighborhoods. I will continue to advocate embracing diversity because I know what it's like to be included, to want to be included. But I do caution us that with that desire to be included, we do not become exclusive. I support efforts to ensure the homeless so that they will make sure that they get the access they need to services. I support the business community and will work to ensure that we have sustainable businesses here. And I just have this city at heart. I work for you, the citizens. I have before this time in place, and I will in the future once you elect me as your next commissioner.
Mr. DeLong.
I love Kissimmee. I don't think of Kissimmee as broken. I think of Kissimmee as home. And I want to see Kissimmee to be the kind of place where my kids and their kids will continue to call home. When it comes to the skill set that I bring, I hope to bring integrity. I hope to bring honesty. I hope to bring clarity and directness into the commission. But I'm following in the footsteps of some people that I think have done a really good job. I hope to continue in that same vein if I'm elected as city commissioner.
Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. I moved here from New York. Had I not liked or loved Kissimmee, I would have moved out and went somewhere else. I have family in basically every part of the state, but Florida, Kissimmee in particular, I have held close to my heart. Not only that, but when the citizens of Kissimmee elect me on August 14th as their next city commissioner, I only promise them that I'm going to listen to them, work hard for them, and that this is not going to be a part-time job. I'm going to be at the office 5 days a week. I'm going to work my 40 hours a week. And I'm also going to promise them that I am going to give 20% of my salary to programs for the community to help the community grow in a way where when my kids are born, can live here and share the beautiful city that we call Kissimmee. I want to work for you, and I am asking you to vote for me on August 14th so that I can be the next city commissioner and take over where Mr. Gimsky left off. Thank you.
The question is why you should be selected over your opponents. And Mr. Matos, you're next.
Thank you. When I came to Kissimmee in 1990, I just fell in love with the city. And at that moment, I decided this was a place I wanted to live, to raise my family here. My children grew up here, and we all have grown up in the city. Kissimmee is my home, no matter what. Kissimmee is my home. I love the place. If I'm elected commissioner, I'll bring my values to Kissimmee of love for the city, of being grateful to this community. I believe you have to give back to the community some of the blessings you have received. And I'll bring integrity to the city and reliability. I'll be an open door commissioner to everybody to represent the whole community equally and always be there for the city. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, as a public servant, retired public servant for over 30 years, and I continue to serve our community after I retired. After I moved to Florida, Kissimmee, I started to volunteer in the community. As you can see, I have a desire to help people and bring the city to the 21st century. As you know, the unemployment rate in Central Florida is over 9.1%, the highest unemployment that we have here in this area. See, this is what I'm talking about working for the community, bringing jobs to the community. All those jobs that we're losing that are going to Orlando, bring them back to Kissimmee. Thank you.
Ms. Shaw.
First off, I want to say how excited I am to be up here with 5 other people, and there were 4 other people here, and these are people that care about this city that I love so much, and I'm very excited, about that. Growing up here, I have had the pleasure of meeting many different fire and police, and the fire chiefs and the police chiefs, If you elect me, when you elect me to be your commissioner, I am going to go to work for you. I already have. I've changed some policies over at KUA to make it more friendly for the community and better for the people of Kissimmee, and I'm going to continue to do things like that to keep people in check and to come together as a community with the Toho Water Authority and with KUA and with the city and do what we can to fill up every building in Kissimmee that's empty. And the 192 corridor definitely has to be addressed, and I plan on doing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question will come from Mr. Perez.
I don't know you remember, in the past there were some business person unhappy because they were promoting their business using like person dressed like the Statue of Liberty or like an animal. Are you in favor having more strict regulation about using person dressed, in that way for promoting business?
The question is, are you in favor of more strict regulation as opposed to letting folks dress up in colorful costumes or have inflatable animals in front of their business to promote? That's the question. And Mr. DeLong, you're up first.
Yes. I just think that it doesn't look good when you're driving down 192 and there's all of these people dressed in every cockamamie, outfit they could possibly wear and spinning these signs. I think our community is better than that. I want it to be better than that. And so, yes, I'm in favor of tighter restrictions, if not complete abolishment of the whole thing.
Mr. Garcia.
I am one of the people that drives down 192, and it's distracting to see somebody dressed in a costume. You can swerve to the left or swerve to the right just by looking. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's appalling. And, it can cause accidents. I am against it. But there are other ways that businesses can attract customers other than just having somebody out there distracting the drivers on the 192 or wherever it is that they have their businesses. So, yes, stricter policies for businesses to promote their businesses and bring more customers into their office. I also have a plan for that as well to help them bring more people into their stores and into their businesses so that they can grow and provide more jobs for the city of Kissimmee. So I am against that, but I am also there to help them bring those customers in and give them an idea on how they can do that. Thank you.
Mr. Matos.
I'm not in favor of more strict restrictions. I think for being so strict, that's why we have lost so many jobs in Kissimmee, so many businesses in Kissimmee. Many of them have to close their doors and go somewhere else. However, I am in favor of reviewing city ordinances and city codes. So to see if we can be more competitive with other municipalities in attracting business to the city. I actually see pretty good that this week the commission approved in first hearing the human signs in the city. I think we're going in the right direction that way.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, to me that showed me that it's a sign of distress of the businesses here in Kissimmee. The regional competition, the shifting demographic, and the absence of a game plan has taken away all these businesses and traffic along 192. That's why you have to see all those people jumping up and down on 192 trying to attract your attention. So yes, I would like to address the problem first, why all those businesses are in such a distress on 192, and we must develop a master plan to bring 192 back alive again.
Ms. Shaw.
I am not a fan of human signage. I think that it is a major distraction, and it's tacky. When you're driving down the road, I don't think you need to have signs blocking the sidewalks or people walking out into the roads even. And I don't agree with it at all. I think that we recently had just last week the commission had to redo the ordinance pertaining to human signage because it was passed down. I think it's a federal or a state law that we can't override. I would like to see stricter rules for the human signage, and I think that we're on the right track with that.
Ms. Woods.
I have mixed emotions, kind of a dichotomy on this, because while I understand that human signage may not be all that appealing to some people, it is a job to others. And so I think the City Commission has taken the first step this week in looking at the human signage ordinance. I know within my spirit that, the letter of the law kills, but the spirit gives life. So if we could find a compromise there somewhere to allow the signage without it being so tacky and so distracting, then we can reach a happy medium with that.
I'm going to remind the panel this is going to be our final two questions for this debate, and we are going to have our next question from Mr. McBride.
If it proved cost-effective, would you ever talk about consolidating city services with the county?
The question is, would you be open to consolidating city services with the county? And our first respondent will be Mr. Garcia.
Is passing an option? I didn't understand the question. If they can elaborate on it.
Sure. Mr. McBride, would you like to elaborate on your question one more time?
For an example, consolidating city services, if the city and the county worked out to where the county would provide law enforcement for the whole county. When you take a department from the city, department from the county, and merge them.
So there would be no Kissimmee Police Department. It would just be the Sheriff's Department would cover the city of Kissimmee, or the Fire Department for Osceola County, or any individual service that you'd want to think of. So that's everyone, and I know that you were first up. Is everyone clear on the question? Excellent. Mr. Garcia, would you like to take a shot?
Of course. I would actually like to see that, to see the Kissimmee Police Department and the Sheriff's Department unite together. There'll be more officers. There will be more money, and you can consolidate. That would be a great idea. I would actually be for that, because when you divide, you have the city can have a larger budget, the county may have a smaller budget, and you can only hire so many sheriff deputies and some Kissimmee. I would actually be for that, to see all the services merge and provide the city of Kissimmee with the best possible service in law enforcement and safety and whatever else that we offer them. If we can do that and it can be done, I would be for it.
Mr. Matos.
We've been talking about consolidation for a while already. Idealistically, yes, it is good. It is good to hear that we're going to be cost effective and we're going to merge together. However, I have mixed feelings about that, because it's always so hard, like to know who's going to have the pan, who's going to hold the pan, by the handle? It's a question that really is a tough one.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, just for the record, when I was an officer in New York City, we merged 3 departments, housing, transit, and city, into one department. Instead of duplicating all those departments, we made it into one department. And I think that idea of consolidating the police department, the sheriff department, is a good idea. As long as we don't lose officers, and let me stress that, as long as we don't lose any officers because of the merge, I'm in favor of that idea.
Ms. Shaw.
I actually am not in favor of merging any of the departments with the county. I think it has been turned down a lot in the past, and when you look at it, what I think would be a better solution is to outline and define the city's areas. Right now, we have like annexes in the city that are actually county. That it takes longer for a responder to get to because they have to come through the city to the county. So I think that if we defined the lines of the city and made it to where Kissimmee Police Department and Kissimmee Fire Department, they respond to this area, that there would be a lot less, waiting for emergency services and things like that.
Ms. Woods, consolidation.
Consolidation is a good thing if it's managed properly. I think that some of the services could be managed in a way where we don't necessarily consolidate, but we use each other's resources. For example, if there's a fire that's closer to the county and it takes the county just a short time to get there, where it would take the city a longer time, let the county go there, build the city, and we pay for that service, at a reduced rate. So we could work together like that in the police area. If the sheriff's department is closer to an area, let them dispatch their deputies, their officers, and then the city would reimburse them for their services or work out some sort of agreement with so many services. So we wouldn't necessarily have to consolidate, but we could certainly look at working together to be more efficient and effective in how we take care of our citizens.
Mr. DeLong.
There are some areas that the city and the county can look at consolidating, but it's probably not fire or police. There are a number of different commercial businesses in town who get an insurance rating, who get a break in that insurance rating because of the ability for the city to provide better service than the county can currently provide in fire and in police. So you're talking about a huge increase to private businesses that's just not sustainable. But there are some other areas. I know the City Commission has already looked at 911 services. I think as a citizen, I think it's a little bit ridiculous that we have 3 911 services, emergency service call centers. I think we need to have that conversation continue on as new elected officials come in. Maybe there can be some further cooperation and agreement to consolidate there. And I'm also interested in the fact that when you go into the county offices now, if you're planning a building, if you're a commercial builder, then you can do that all online. You can't do that in the city, and I think we can consolidate there too.
Thank you very much. And our final question in the debate will be from Mr. Perez.
Okay, this requires a very short answer. I want that you be specific and tell me one thing that you would suggest for helping to attract more business and fill all this empty property in Vine Street and in the OBT.
The question is, what is the #1 thing you would do to fill empty businesses and attract jobs to Kissimmee? And the first responder will be Jaime Matos.
To work a very well-defined plan of the Office of Business Development with the county, and also revise our actual ordinances and codes to see if we can be more competitive with other municipalities to attract business to Kissimmee and to maintain the jobs we have in the city.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, I will have a master plan. I will have a goal that we would like to accomplish. One OPT and 192, that corridor right there, is along the corridor that interconnect Osceola Regional and Kissimmee Hospital. You know, so that's a great opportunity to fill that area with businesses that cater to the medical industry. So having said that, having the summer rail also coming up soon, it will be a great way to revitalize that area.
Ms. Shaw, your number one thing for economic development.
My number one thing that I would want to do for economic development in Kissimmee, I would like to see the different organizations, as I said before, Toho Water Authority, KUA, and the city of Kissimmee with zoning and planning come together and make it easier for people to come to Kissimmee. Don't go to St. Cloud or Orlando and open your businesses there. Open your businesses here in Kissimmee, and we will work with you, and we'll make it easier for you. You know, that's what I would like to see.
Ms. Woods.
I would like for us to develop some incentives to draw the businesses here. We know that we have the medical community coming in the Lake Nona area, so then we could partner with the hospitals here. We're already working on that to work on that OBT 192 corridor to expand the roads, to bring in businesses there. We're looking at the CRA to develop areas on the West 192 corridor to bring businesses here. And again, we have to look at sustainable businesses like the medical community, like education, bringing people in here, because when we bring the medical community in, that's an educated group of people, so we have to work on education. So what we need to do is look at incentives to make them come into this city, draw them in with good incentives, and also look at our impact fees that we're working on with the CRA in mind.
Mr. DeLong.
You know, the city has done such a great job with the CRA downtown, and the redevelopment that took place there was in part due to the CRA. That set the context for private business guys and developers to come in and pour their hearts out. I think that the city's continuing to look at CRA development on the OBT corridor and the 192 corridor. I think those are good ideas. I think you got to include in those ideas things like impact fee suspension in those areas, allow developers to come in and not be charged these impact fees to fit, you know, to get these businesses off the ground. I think you got to look at things as simple as like commercial trash in those areas. Why can't in those CRAs we have options like the county has for commercial trash, where you have many providers that you can choose from at a lower rate, and things like, you know, in that CRA, you got to, like, what if it was just as simple as, hey, let's provide a reduced KUA bill to those businesses that are startups in those areas. We want to say, hey, come to these areas, come to the CRA, do business here. We're going to make it easy for you. Those are just simple ideas.
Mr. Garcia.
I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm just going to say that I am for local businesses. I have one plan that I've been working on, and I actually adopted it from the city of Kissimmee. And when you go outside, there's a sign that says the 350 plan, and I'm actually going to enforce that when I get elected as county commissioner, when the people elect me, because you know what, it's a great plan. Another thing is to get people to come here and do business in Kissimmee. You need to be able to give them incentives. You need to be able to help them grow their business, and so that they can actually hire people and waste their money here. A lot of people are going to St. Cloud, like supermarkets and warehouses, because they have incentives for the companies to grow and expand. So if we give them incentives, tax breaks, they'll come here and they'll give jobs, and I'm actually working on a plan for that. So hopefully I can put it to work when I get elected. Thank you.
Well, that's going to conclude the question portion of our debate. I want to really thank our friends from the Osceola News-Gazette and from El Osceola Star. Thank you for participating in the panel. And now our candidates are going to have an opportunity to give a 30-second closing remark, and we're going to begin with Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, if I'm elected as your next city commissioner, I will bring the city forward. We have many plans right now on the burner, and I want to make sure that we continue to work and bring the city to the 21st century. We have much work to be done, but I assure you that I will be a fair commissioner for all. Thank you very much.
Ms. Shaw.
If you elect me, I'm going to listen to what you have to say, and I'm going to do my best to put that into effect and work for you, for the citizens of Kissimmee. We have a lot of things, like right now on the burner. We've got the Hansel plant that is going to you know, as soon as we decommission that, that's going to be really good for the city. And we've got a lot of things that I'd like to see right on the track, and then some things that I'd like to expand on.
Ms. Woods.
I love this city. This is my home. I'm committed to working for you. I will be truthful and honest with you. My door will always be open to listen to you. I know that you have a sense within you that knows when people are telling you the truth. And you know right now that I'm telling you the truth, and I will always be truthful to you. So I want you to just listen to my heart and vote your heart. Vote Javonda Woods, your next city commissioner.
Mr. DeLong.
I think there's a temptation to look at past commission leaders and to demonize and say that there needs to be a new savior to come in, and that's just not really been my heart. I think that the city commission has laid out some really great goals for the future of Kissimmee. I'd like to see those goals come to fruition. This seat is a way in which those goals can continue to be advanced. It's one vote, and I hope that you'll consider me as your next city commissioner.
Mr. Garcia.
I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to come here and express my thoughts. And I just want to let you know it is my first time running. I may not have the experience or qualifications that the current commissioners have, but they gained. And, you know, I want to gain the same experience, and I want to work for Kissimmee. I want the citizens to understand that I want to give them courtesy, professionalism, and respect. I want them to know that I'm going to be there for them whenever they need me, and I want them to understand that I'm here to work for them and for their future and their family's future. Thank you very much.
Mr. Matos.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have 6 candidates here to choose from, and I believe the point is to elect somebody that has been involved with the city long enough to know which way we are direction and how to direct the city on the right path. Somebody who's a team player, although not necessarily will agree with everybody all the time, but somebody who understands that takes a group effort to actually move forward. Somebody with strong leadership to represent the best interests of the city. Please, August 14, vote for Jaime Matos. Thank you.
Let's give a big round of applause to all of our candidates. They did a great job.
Thank you.
Before we conclude, I just want to thank our sponsors tonight. We have our friends with KUA, Kissimmee Utility Authority. We're our title sponsor, and Walt Disney World. We really appreciate their support. They made this event possible. We want to thank our panel, Brian Bride with Osceola News Gazette and Jorge Perez with El Osceola Star. We want to thank you for watching and our crowd for being here, but more than anything else, we really want to thank our candidates. They all did a great job. They were very civil, very courteous, and very thoughtful in their answers. And so thank you for putting yourself out here. It takes a lot of courage to run, and we just like to remind everybody out there to go and vote on August 14th. Thank you very much. Good evening.